Your alarm clock rings in the darkness of early morning, long before the sun even begins to stretch its light across the horizon. And in that quiet moment between sleep and reality, there's a decision waiting to be made. It is not a loud decision. It is not dramatic. It is a whisper, a small voice asking a question that determines the direction of your entire life. Will you choose comfort or will you choose discipline? Because the truth that most people try to ignore is that every dream, every transformation, every extraordinary life ever lived was built on a foundation that most people run from. The pain of discipline. And discipline does not announce itself like motivation does. Motivation is loud, excited, and emotional. It shows up when the music is playing, when the crowd is cheering, when the vision feels beautiful and powerful and possible. But discipline shows up when nobody is watching. Discipline shows up when the alarm clock rings and every cell in your body begs for 5 more minutes. Discipline shows up when you are tired, when you are discouraged, when the results you prayed for haven't arrived yet, and when the world around you quietly suggests that maybe you should just settle for less. Most people will listen to that suggestion. Most people will slowly trade their dreams for comfort, their ambition for routine, their potential for the illusion of safety. But deep inside you, there is something restless. A voice that refuses to be silent. A voice that keeps reminding you that you were not created to live a small life. You were not created to merely exist between weekends, between paychecks, between excuses. You were created with the capacity to grow, to evolve, to fight through resistance, to become someone stronger than the person you were yesterday. But transformation demands a price, and the currency of that price is discipline. Not the kind of discipline that looks glamorous on social media, not the kind of people celebrate and highlight reels after the success has already happened, but the quiet, relentless discipline that happens in the invisible hours of life. The workouts when nobody is clapping, the studying when nobody is grading you, the early mornings when the world is still asleep and the only sound in the room is the echo of your own determination. That is the battlefield where your future is decided. The only sound, the battlefield where your future is decided. Because every great life begins the same way, with struggle, with doubt, with moments when the road ahead feels impossibly long and the voice of fear becomes loud enough to make you question whether the dream was ever realistic to begin with. There will be days when progress feels slow, days when you feel like you are giving everything and receiving nothing in return. Days when people around you look at your effort and quietly assume that you are wasting your time. And those moments will test you in ways that comfort never could. Because struggle has a way of revealing the truth about who you really are. When life is easy, everybody looks confident. When life is comfortable, everybody believes in their potential. But when things become difficult, when the results are delayed, when the obstacles begin to multiply, that is when the real tests begin. That is when the question becomes unavoidable. Do you truly want the life you dream about, or did you only want the fantasy of it? Because the distance between the person you are today and the person you want to become is filled with uncomfortable days, difficult decisions, and countless moments when quitting feels easier than continuing. But history has always belonged to the people who refuse to quit. There was a man once who spent years of his life chasing an idea that the world considered impossible. His name was Thomas Edison. And before the light bulb illuminated the world, his experiments failed not once, not twice, but thousands of times. Imagine standing in the laboratory late at night, surrounded by broken prototypes, empty notebooks filled with failed attempts, and the quiet pressure of a world waiting to see you give up. Most people would have interpreted those failures as proof that the dream was unrealistic. But Edison did not see failure the way most people do. When someone asked him how it felt to fail thousands of times, he calmly replied that he had not failed at all. He had simply discovered thousands of ways that did not work. That mindset is the heartbeat of discipline. The ability to continue forward when the evidence around you suggests that stopping would be easier. And that same spirit lived inside another man who spent most of his early life being told that he was not good enough. Abraham Lincoln failed in business. He lost multiple elections. He faced public criticism that would have crushed the confidence of most people. But Lincoln understood something that discipline eventually teaches every determined soul. The setbacks are not the story. They are only the training. Every rejection, every delay, every moment of doubt is quietly building the strength required for the future that is waiting ahead. But strength is not built in comfort. Strength is built in resistance. Just as a muscle grows stronger by pushing against weight, a life becomes powerful by pushing against adversity. And the individuals who eventually change the world are rarely the most talented people in the room. They are the ones who develop the most disciplined minds, because talent may open the door, but discipline is what keeps you moving forward when the excitement disappears and the journey becomes real. Consider the story of Walt Disney, a man who was once fired from a newspaper. B. Because his editor believed he lacked imagination and had no good ideas. The same man who would eventually create an empire of creativity and inspiration began his journey being told that he was not creative enough. His early business ventures collapsed. He experienced bankruptcy. There were nights when the dream looked fragile, uncertain, almost impossible to maintain. But Walt Disney carried something within him that critics could not see. A vision, a stubborn belief that the world he imagined could exist if he simply refused to abandon it. That belief demanded discipline. It required him to wake up each morning with the same commitment, even when yesterday had delivered disappointment. It required him to push forward when investors said no, when resources were scarce, when the path ahead was foggy and unpredictable. And eventually that discipline transformed a struggling dreamer into a creator whose ideas shaped generations. The lesson hidden within stories like these is not simply that success is possible. The deeper lesson is that success always asks the same question: how badly do you want it? Because dreams are free, but the life required to achieve them is expensive. It costs early mornings, it costs late nights, it costs the courage to continue when nobody else understands your vision. It costs the humility to accept failure as a teacher rather than an enemy. And most of all, it costs discipline, the kind of discipline that transforms ordinary days into building blocks of an extraordinary life. And when you begin to understand this truth, something powerful happens within your mindset. You stop waiting for motivation to appear. You stop negotiating with your excuses. You begin to see discipline not as punishment, but as liberation. Because discipline gives you control over your future. It places the steering wheel of your life firmly in your own hands. Instead of drifting through circumstances, reacting to whatever life throws at you, you become intentional about the direction you are moving. You begin to wake up with purpose. You begin to recognize that every small action you take today is quietly shaping the person you will become tomorrow. Discipline is not about perfection, it is about consistency. It is about choosing progress even when perfection is unavailable. And that simple shift in mindset changes everything. Because when you commit to discipline, the ordinary moments of life begin to carry extraordinary power. The early morning run becomes more than exercise. It becomes a declaration that comfort will not control you. The extra hours spent learning a new skill becomes more than study. It becomes an investment in the future that most people are too impatient to build. And slowly, almost invisibly at first, your life begins to transform. The habits you repeat daily start shaping your identity. The effort you once forced yourself to make becomes part of who you are. You no longer see discipline as pain. You see it as the bridge between the life you have and the life you deserve. And as that understanding deepens, a new kind of vision begins to emerge within you. A vision that refuses to settle for average. A vision that recognizes the immense potential hidden within consistent effort. Because the truth is that most people overestimate what they can achieve in a few days, but dramatically underestimate what they can achieve in a few years of relentless discipline. A single workout may not change your body. A single day of studying may not change your career. A single act of courage may not change your life. But when those actions are repeated day after day, week after week, year after year, something remarkable begins to happen. Momentum is created, growth compounds, and the person who once struggled with doubt begins to develop an unshakable confidence built not on hype, but on evidence. Evidence that they can endure difficulty. Evidence that they can continue when motivation disappears. Evidence that discipline has quietly transformed them into someone stronger, wiser, and far more capable than they once believed possible. And that transformation is where the real power of discipline reveals itself. Because discipline does not simply change your schedule, it changes your identity. It turns ordinary individuals into resilient creators of their own destiny. It turns hesitation into courage, weakness into strength, dreams into reality. And the most beautiful part of this journey is that it is available to anyone willing to embrace the process. You do not need perfect circumstances. You do not need extraordinary talent. You only need the courage to begin and the discipline to continue. And once that journey begins, once you commit yourself to the daily practice of growth, the emotional intensity of your life begins to rise like a rising tide that refuses to be contained. Because every challenge you overcome strengthens your belief that the next challenge can also be conquered. Every difficult day you survive becomes proof that you are stronger than the voice of doubt that once tried to stop you. And slowly, steadily, the person staring back at you in the mirror begins to change, not just externally, but internally, where the real transformation takes place. You begin to see a fighter where you once saw hesitation. You begin to see determination where you once saw fear. And in that moment, you realize something powerful. The pain of discipline is temporary, but the pain of regret lasts a lifetime. One will shape you, strengthen you, elevate you. The other will haunt you with endless questions about what might have been. And so the choice remains just as it did in the quiet darkness. When the alarm clock first rang, comfort or discipline, the easy road or the meaningful one, the life of excuses or the life of purpose. Because the future you dream about is not waiting for a perfect moment to arrive. It is waiting for you to decide that you are ready to earn it, ready to embrace the early mornings, ready to endure the difficult days, ready to pay the price that greatness quietly demands. And when that decision is finally made, when you commit to walk in the path of discipline with relentless determination, something extraordinary begins to unfold. The world may not notice immediately, the applause may not arrive right away, but deep within the architecture of your life, a powerful transformation will already be underway. The habits you build today will become the strength you rely on tomorrow. The sacrifices you make today will become the opportunities you enjoy tomorrow. The discipline you embrace today will become the legacy you leave tomorrow. And one day, years from now, when someone looks at the life you have built and asks how you achieved something so powerful, so meaningful, so extraordinary, the answer will be simple. You chose discipline when it was difficult. You chose growth when it was uncomfortable. You chose purpose when the world offered distraction. And in doing so, you prove something that every great life eventually reveals. That greatness is not reserved for the lucky. It is earned by the discipline. And the moment you fully understand that truth, the moment you decide that your life will be built on daily actions rather than temporary emotions, that is the moment your real journey begins. Because the life you want is already possible. The question has never been whether the opportunity exists. The question has always been whether you are willing to become the person capable of achieving it. And that transformation begins today. Not tomorrow, not some say, today.